Good afternoon, colleagues. Once again, may I thank you very much for your patience. As indicated earlier on, there was matters that the traditional Prime Minister had to attend to. I will, without any further ado, hand over to him, and then we'll take it from there.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to apologize for not keeping the time which I actually suggested for our communication. But this anecdote might interest you that I found that the statement I'm going to read is in isiZulu. So, and I received it here. I didn't bring it from Ulundi. So, for your benefit, I sat down and did a free translation of it. And the problem is this, you know. I learned a lot of things at school, from the primary school, secondary school up to the university. But one thing they failed to teach me is how to write. So my secretary had to struggle, you know, to try and type and print what I had to say. So I apologize for that. So whenever they laugh at me, those who know my handwriting, I always tell them that they shouldn't laugh at me because when I was doing matric, I had the privilege of writing my uncle's letters, Dr. Sam, the founder of the ANC, and he used to sign them, and replies, used to get replies from them. So they can't laugh at me. Let me be serious now, ladies and gentlemen, and say to you that this morning I was asked by His Royal Highness Prince Magate Zulu to read the statement on his behalf, clarifying his position, following public speculation that he intends contesting the throne. He has asked me to read this statement to make it clear that he has no such intention, and that he gives his full support and loyalty to His Majesty King Misuzulu KwaZulu-Natal. I trust that this puts the matter to rest. I must take this opportunity to appeal to the media to please be careful in giving credence and coverage to every voice that pontificates on matters of the royal family. It becomes misleading and is really nothing short of interference when those outside the family pose opinions, their opinions as fact. We note, for instance, the wide speculation on social media that has been picked up by the traditional media that His Majesty the King will be compelled to marry before he can issue royal decrees. There is no basis for this claim. Indeed, the founder of the nation, the founder of the monarchy itself, King Shaka Kasanzangakona, was himself a celibate by choice, in that he voluntarily chose not to marry. Likewise, King Dingane was celibate by choice, yet he gave orders and declared even wars. And my maternal grandfather, King Dinizulu, actually ascended the throne before he got married. It was only the apartheid regime that misled the Amakosi, that Amakosi and kings must marry before taking over their positions. In my case, for instance, it might interest you, they sought to do everything possible to prevent me from taking my position as Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan, because I was a member of the ANC. They posed one obstacle after the next, even insisting that I get married. Despite choosing to marry my wife, Princess Irene Thandekile Mzila, in July 1952, the apartheid government still delayed and only installed me almost a year later. The present speculation that His Majesty will be compelled to marry before he's installed suggests that our present government wishes to mimic what the apartheid regime imposed on our people. This is an inflammatory accusation which I think can cause deep distress. I'm not saying, of course, that the king will not get married before he takes the throne. It is quite possible that he may choose to marry before he ascends the throne. But there is no reason why his not being married could stop him from ascending the throne or issuing royal decrees. He's already issuing them now as I speak. There is nothing that can be done. Our king is already issuing many things, and the king already, we can't do anything already without getting his permission or approval. I hope that this will make it very clear, ladies and gentlemen, that just how damaging it can be when the media gives space to every uninformed opinion. I don't know why you are so impatient that you don't wait for us to inform you. We're very loyally informed you about this whole matter. And I don't see why you should go to these so-called experts or gurus to ask them to pontificate on matters of the royal family. While matters of the royal family are of public interest, I think it is quite unfair to allow anyone and everyone to dictate what the royal family should do. Because the royal family doesn't dictate to anyone what they may do in their families. I also note a report this morning in the Witness stating that the Minister of Police, the Honorable Minister Peggy Cele, and the former President, His Excellency Jacob Zuma, are allegedly mediating what is said to be a conflict in the royal family. The Witness claims that they are doing so on instruction from, quote, the ANC top brass, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as His Majesty the King and the royal family are concerned, mediation is unnecessary in this matter. Following His Majesty's the King's appointment last Friday, the Honourable Premier of KwaZulu-Natal and the Honourable Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs approached me with an offer to mediate in the royal family. I advised that I would take this matter to His Majesty because I can no longer make decisions without actually referring the matter to the King. Upon consultation with His Majesty, both the King and the Queen Mother, Queen Mavis, Queen Mazungu, asked that I should thank the Premier and thank the Minister for the offer, but that at the moment they feel quite able to sort out their own problems without seeking any outside help. I conveyed this to the Premier, and His Majesty the King spoke to the Premier as well on my phone directly with both the Premier, the King, and also the Queen, also through my phone spoke to the Premier. Perhaps having read the statement just now, I'm going to read the statement by Prince Magade Zulu, Zulu. It will be clear now that there is no dispute at present over the throne. While Prince Magade was posed in the media as a contender to the throne, he, like all of us, welcomes the reign of His Majesty King Mangosuthu Buthelezi. I now proceed to read his statement as he has sent to me. Mangibingelele kumntwana ophinda ngene Makeba. Bengicela ukuba umntwana ngifundise lesi statement esivulekile njengoba ngisibhalile. Ngiyezwa Makeba ukuthi igama lami seliyathinteka ekutheni mina Simakade Jackson Zulu ngifuna isikhundla sobukhosi. Ngijabulile uma ngibona umntwana umabona kude ezisholo ngokwakhe ukuthi angikaze ngisho nakuye ukuthi ngiyasifuna lesi sikhundla nami ngiyakufakazela lokho. Ngingaqinisekisa ukuthi angikaze ngisho kumuntu ukuthi ngiyasifuna lesi sikhundla. Ngiyezwa amagebe ukuthi kukhona ubuhomomu obukhombisa ukuthi hleze kukhona abangifisela lesi sikhundla. Futhi ayikho into engayenza ngemizwa yabanye abantu. Mangicacise ukuthi ubabekazi wami, umntwana wakwaNdlovu, umntwana uThembi, umntwana seKhwezi, umntwana uMbonisi, bake basiqwashisa sizingane zenkosi ukuthi uma isilo noma indlunkulu iphakamisa igama lomunye wethu kufanele avume loyo oyobe ekhonjiwe. Ngakho-ke nami kuba ngangiphakanyisiwe ngangesamukela leso siphakamiso, futhi babesixwayisile ukuthi uma uphakamisa omunye wethu asibokwamukela futhi simeseke lowo oyobe ekhonjiwe. Njengengane ehloniphayo nengicabanga ukuthi izithobile, ngiyaqinisekisa ukuthi angeke ngiweqe amagama abantu abadala njengoba besengichazile ngezeluleko ezingaphezulu. Ngiyamcela umntwana ukuba nxa esefunda lesi statimende njengoba sinjalo asale sengicelela ney'ntatheli ukuba sengalokhu zingifonela ngalolu daba, ngoba akukho okunye engingakusho ukudlula lokho esengikushiye. Mangithokoze Mageba, imina umzukulu wakho, umntwana Simakade Zulu, dated on the 11th of May 2021. Manje-ke, njengoba ngishilo, as I said, I was delayed because I tried to make a free translation, a free translation for the benefit of our media representatives who cannot understand the king's language. Statement by His Royal Highness Prince Makade Kazolithini Mageba. I request the Prince to read the following statement on my behalf as written by myself. I am aware that there are talks which include my name that I, Simakade Jackson Zulu, is aspiring to sit on the throne. I was pleased to see that on television, the Prince, he's referring to me, made it clear that I've never expressed such ambitions to him. I myself wish to attest to that. I wish to assure everyone that I've never expressed such ambitions to anyone. I've heard that there are talks, there are people who wish me to ascend to this position, and there is nothing I can do about that. I wish to stress that my aunt Princess Thembi and my uncle Prince Mbonisi warned us as the late king's children that once an announcement of any name amongst us is announced to be a successor to the throne, that we as the children of the late king must support whoever that person is amongst us, as long as that comes from the late king or the royal family. So, if I had been mentioned by name for that position, I could have accepted the proposal of my name. They, meaning the Prince Mbonisi and Princess Thembi, also warned that once such a person's name is announced, we should all support and declare loyalty to such a person. As someone who is respectful and humble, I wish to assure everyone that I will never defy the announcement of whoever has his name mentioned as the heir to the throne. I can never defy whatever my elders tell me to do. I've already mentioned the advices I've received. I request the Prince, referring to me, should read my statement exactly as I've made it. I appeal to all media houses to please refrain from phoning me about this matter. I ask for this For there is nothing I wish to add to this statement. Thank you, Makeba. I'm your grandnephew, Prince Smagade Zulu, 11th of May, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the reason why I requested you to come, and I'm grateful to you that you did so, because I think this statement, in view of the confusion that has been started by so-called experts in the media, that it's important for you to get it from me and to get it right from Prince Magade's lips, and not from the experts or speculators in the media.
That's it. Colleagues, are there any questions? Mr. Makosini, Mr. Gilani, Mr. Matuane, is in that order, and marking one. Right, Mr. Makosini, you can proceed. If I don't see you, please just indicate her because the light is quite powerful there. Mr. Makosini?
Has the issue of around the security of the king has been resolved? Second question I've got, when is the king likely to be installed?
The issue of security been resolved, and has the issue of security been resolved of His Majesty? Has the issue of security been resolved of His Majesty? And then the second one.
Has it been resolved?
That is it.
What?
The issue of security, of His Majesty's security.
Well, I find that a very interesting question. I find this a very interesting question, and I'm glad that the journalist concerned asked it. This is the whole story of this saga about security. On Friday, after the official service, the funeral service, in the evening, Colonel Hadebe, who is deployed by the Commissioner of Police to actually lead the teams that have been rendering service to the royal family. He came with about 4 officers, senior officers, where I was in the palace. He then said to me that he's suggesting that I should propose to the king that he should be whisked away to Swatini immediately because of security concerns. I then told him that, in fact, that is not possible. It was in the early evening. Because in the first place, the king has an appointment with me the following day, because he told me through the phone that he has a message to me from His Majesty King Mswati. And therefore, that meeting has to take place. The colonel suggested that, well, soon after that, what you call the appointment, he should then be whisked to Swaziland, Swatini. And I was startled, because how can someone be put on the throne and then be ordered for security reasons to be whisked to Swaziland, to Swatini? I'm sorry, I apologize to the king, to Swatini. I said, how can that be? And I said, is the suggestion that the kingdom of Swatini has better security than the security of the republic? In fact, then the Queen Mother, Queen Mavis Mazung, then entered the discussion and said, my children, why don't you touch in the what you call, because they were suggesting that the appointment should be in my residence, rather than at the palace. And I said, but I cannot do that. The king, this is the palace of the king, and I have to be here at the palace to hear what the king's message from the other king of the kingdom of Swaziland, of the Swatini, says. I was surprised then, because then as I drove to the palace, I received a phone call from the Honorable Mr. Sithe Zikalala, our Premier, who said to me, he, together with the Minister of Kokta, the Honorable Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, would like to intervene in what they see as a conflict in the family. I've said this already in my statement. And I said, of course, I no longer decide anything without the king, and I'll convey this to the king. I then conveyed it to the king, who then said that he didn't think that there was any matter that they couldn't sort out as the royal family, and he was very grateful for the proposed intervention, but they think that they were able to do so. Then also, the Queen Mother, Queen Mavis Moisung, also entered the discussion and said that, no, for the moment, they don't think that there should be any, what you call, intervention from outside, because they think the royal family is quite capable of sorting out its conflicts, if there are any conflicts. So I was surprised then when the Premier then issued a statement to say that, in fact, I should have checked with them. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the person who actually informed me that the security was being withdrawn was Advocate Mshololo, who is actually an advocate of the High Court, who is residing at the palace of the king. He told me, because he couldn't tell anyone, he had to come to me to say, now the security of the king is being withdrawn. So, in fact, some of the journalists actually said that they were all willing to give me some footage of when some of the policemen were leaving that night. So I'm really find it surprising in the extreme that the ANC in this province should then chip in and accuse me of having a political program. I have no political program in the royal family. I'm part of the royal family in the first place, quite apart from my position as traditional Prime Minister of the King. And I actually, the political support that I've received in this country, it was political support which I got on my own initiative. It has never been actually because of royalty or because of the late king or anyone. It was support to me as Mangosuthu Buthelezi. And that is why, in fact, they've always tried to build a narrative that I was using the king. I don't need to use the king. I don't need to use the king. In this province itself, twice for 10 years, my party was in charge of the province. And then I got support. I mean, a clear majority twice. It was not because of the king. And it's nonsensical in the extreme. And I'm very distressed, actually, by the statement by the ANC in this province. Because they are the ones who have always scuppered all our efforts at reconciliation, all the time. We take it back to the time when Mr. Mandela, they prevented Mr. Mandela from seeing me. They said he can't see me. When Mr. Harry Gwala took a busload of the leaders of ANC in Natal and to Johannesburg, to Shell House, when Mr. Mandela had agreed to go with me to Taylor's Hall to address a joint rally of the ANC and IFP members, they went in a bus to tell him not to go there, And I could not miss my friend, Mr. Mandela, who was released in February. In fact, through my pleas and through my campaign for his release, I couldn't see him until the 29th of July the following year because of them. And when the time expired for me to win the government of national unity in 1999, because I was in the government through the interim interim constitution which prescribed that any party that had more than 5% of the votes should have ministers in the government. It was for this reason that Madiba, our president, asked me to select ministers, and we declared to select ministers because we were the two parties that had more members. It was not by, actually, even by his grace, although he was very happy that I did so. But then when this thing had expired, the incoming president, who was incoming president now, His Excellency Thabo Mbuyelo Mbeki, invited me to Tambo House, and he said to me, Shele, I think that although the final constitution doesn't prescribe that we can continue the government of national unity, I'm asking you to agree for us to work together for the sake of reconciliation. I consulted the IFP and they agreed. So after the election, Mr. Mbeki actually invited me to Tambo House again. He then said to me, he was appointing me as the deputy president of the Republic. But he then said, but there's one thing I want to say. This morning, you see those seats, he was pointing at the seats, in the lounge. He said, leaders of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, KwaZulu-Natal, yes, were sitting here. And they said to me, if you are appointing Buthelezi as deputy president, then the premiership of the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal, which was held by Dr. Mchali, he must give it to the ANC. Of course, I couldn't do that, to take the votes of the people of this province in a platter and give them to another party. But Mr. Mbeki, pursuing reconciliation, he still said to me, well, even if you are not taking the position on that condition, then, but we must still work together in pursuance of reconciliation. I said, well, it's up to you then, Mzizi, to tell me what position. He said, no. I want you to continue to be Minister of Home Affairs. Then I continued to be Minister of the Home Affairs after that. And I can mention even now, I've had a discussion with the President 2 years ago at King's House, or Dube House now, in Durban, for about 3 hours or more, seeking reconciliation. Because I'm aware that I'm living by God's grace now. At my age, each day is by God's grace. And I can go anytime. And I said that I would like, when I close my eyes, to close the wound between us and the ANC. But even then, the delay comes from this province. Because what has happened is that the ANC in this province have decided to name Abakulu's area Mzala Nxumalo region. And it's deliberate because the ANC have a book which was written by their researcher, Nobleman Nxumalo, Jabulani Nxumalo, who used a nom de plume and signed himself Mzala, where he defamed me, he defamed my family, he said all sorts of things about me. And even now that propaganda is actually being propagated. And I was shocked when I saw one Minister Dr. Zimande, on Morning Alive, paging this book saying that it must be printed. And also our former president, Mr. Zuma, saying this book must be printed. So even now, questioning that I'm not a prime minister comes from that book, which is the Bible of the ANC. Questioning my ancestry by saying that I'm not actually a prince comes from that book. And yet, in that book, there's such nonsense as to say Dr. Seme was the son of a princess, which is utter nonsense. Dr. Seme was married to the eldest daughter of King Dinizulu. Dr. Samuel's children are princes and princesses like myself and my sisters and brothers. But all the people that are poisoned with this thing, even now they are writing in the newspapers because, there's this holy read by the ANC. And it's the ANC here says that they cannot be dictated to by the national leadership. Because I said to the president that our cooperation with them in Johannesburg City cannot continue if they don't put that right, because they are trying to lionize this person, just as they did here in Mlazi. Here in Mlazi, the Mangosuthu Highway was obliterated by the ANC. They removed my name and called it Mklanga Highway. Whereas that was done not by me or by my influence. It was done by the council of Mlazi at that time, acknowledging what I had done in Mlazi. Most of the houses at Mlazi were done by me. Most of the houses there. Many things that I did there. I mean, for instance, the Prince Msheni Hospital in Mlazi was built by myself. And the Mangosuthu University was not built with government money. It was built by me with money from my friends. So in acknowledgement of that, they decided then to name the road Mangosuthu Highway. But even now, they pretend that they've changed that, but actually in point of fact, they've not done so. So I'm not surprised by the statement that they make now, because I don't know how the ANC enters in this thing to say that, I must check my facts. Because I'm not a maroon or an idiot. I was not born yesterday too. And I think some of you have known me for quite some time. I'm not an S.
When will the king be installed is the second question.
I'm told that the second question is when is the king going to be installed. But actually, I mentioned this at a press conference, and some of the media houses were present. I said the king has got his belongings when he came down for the burial of his mother. And I said that he's going to go back. He's going to go back to Swaziland to collect his thing for a time which is not more than a week, I said, and he'll come back. Prince Thulani has prepared the minutes because the Premier phoned me asking me for the minutes of that meeting, which took place on Friday. I said that, in fact, I'm sure Anchor or SABC or Newsroom can give me some footage which I can give him as far as what happened on Friday night. But however, since he wants those minutes, Prince Thulani, the king's personal assistant, has prepared those grounds, and so I'm just waiting to sign them and deliver them to the Premier. That is the process. That's what the process is at present. But on our part as Zulu people, well, he's already on the throne as far as we are concerned. He's already our king. As far as we are concerned. And this is not without precedence. You know what? My maternal grandfather, King Dinuzulu, was exiled after the Bambata Rebellion, was exiled to a cake farm in Middelburg, in what was then Transvaal. And he died in October 1913. And when his body was brought to KwaNobamba by wagon, he was buried there. You see, when my grandfather went to St. Helena, when he was exiled, he went there with two of his wives, a girl from Mjalose, Slomo Ogantuzo, was the mother of King Solomon, Prince Msheni, and Princess Makoko. In fact, my two uncles were born on the island, but my mother was born after return. And then the other wife, Zislazile Makwazo, who was the second wife, also had two sons, Prince David Nyawana and Princess Samuel Begindota. Now, as soon as the king was buried at Nobamba, the principal induna of the king, Mankulumane, and the people, they saluted David because they thought he was older than King Solomon. They gave him the Bayete salute. But my uncle King Solomon then, from his jacket, he had sewn a letter that his father King Dinzulu had actually sent to him, naming him. So he produced it there at the grave. And Prince David said, "This is my father's handwriting. I can't dispute it." And there and then at the grave, he was given the Bayete salute. Because from the point of view, it was not the colonial government that was going to make him king, but the Zulu people in the royal family. These formalities come out of conquest. And that our brothers and sisters who are sitting now in government are going through those motions now of preparing to appoint the king. But as far as we're concerned, the king is already on the throne. I think I've answered that question now.
Sorry, I'm battling with the light. You have Ms. Matuan?
Thank you, have you and the rest of the elders met with Prince Thokozani and have the questions and concerns that he raised on Friday night been fully ventilated?
Have you and the elders met with Prince Thokozani? Have the elders met with Prince Thokozani? And two, have the issues that he raised on Friday night been fully ventilated?
No, we're going to meet on Friday as far as those issues are concerned. Because Thokozani has no right whatsoever to do what he did. Because in fact, I was seeing him for the first time myself. I didn't know him. And I was told he's the former speaker in Ilembe, where his surname was Msweli. And I was told that he was a son of my cousin, Prince Penuel Solomon Dinizulu. But he's known as Msweli. He was a member of the African National Congress and a speaker in the Ilembe municipality. So you can see that he had no status that he should interrupt, what was a meeting of the royal family on such a serious matter. He had no right. He hasn't got any precedence to other senior members of the royal family who were present.
njengabendaba sifisa ukuthi sigcine abafundi bethu kukhona abakufundayo bese siyabo osolwazini laba okungasho ukuthi-ke sithi abakushoyo kusuke ku-custom stone noma kuyakanye sizamile kodwa ukuthinta yibo sikanankulu sifuna ukuva umlomo wakho uqobo ukuthi udaba lokucacelwa ngabasemqondo kanaka kushuthi wasenethe udadewethu lo ufanele usilekelela lolwazi usazi ukuthi kushuthi sekuyithanda ukuthi balanise isithanda bengifisa mhlawumbe uma kungenzeka umntwana asilekelele ukuthi kusuka manje iy'nhlelo zizoba kanjani mhlawumbe ukuthi isidaba sokuclean ceremony sokwenzela njani mhlawumbe sikwazi ukuthi sibe nesithombe sokuthi kungenzeka ukuthi i-coronation ibe nini nanokuthi ithathe lokuhlobo.
He was first apologizing. Huh? He was first apologizing for the Mercury story that they'd written. He was apologizing for the Mercury story that they'd written, insofar as the issues that you raised about the king getting married. He was apologizing for the Mercury story, insofar as the king getting married, in that they had tried to contact the office.
What did he write in the Mercury?
That issue about the king should get married. Should get married, but he says now that since he's gotten it, he's thankful, he's grateful that he's gotten the explanation of the issues. And then the second question is when can the coronation be anticipated to be?
When coronation is what?
When will take place? And
But I thought I've answered that question just now. Haven't I answered that question? I've answered that question already. I've said that the king will be going to Swaziland after the meeting we're having on Friday. And I said that he'll be away for not more than a week, I said. And I said that today I'm going to sign the minutes, which are going to be sent to what you call to the premier of the province. I've already explained that of course is in position since our conquest. Because as far as the Zulu nation is concerned, the king is on the throne. But I've said this, I don't understand what I must clarify. Because we have to wait for that process on the side of the government.
Mr. Duma?
Good afternoon, friends. My name is Coronation. I'm from SABC. My question is there any truth to the reports that you are seeing that suggests, that states rather, that AmaZulu King, Mrs. Buthelezi is married?
He's asking, is there any truth to the, he's asking if there's any truth to, he's asking if there's any truth into the story that the king is actually married.
Actually what?
Married.
I'm not sure. You can inform me when he got married. But for me, I don't know that he's married.
Any other questions, colleagues? Mr. Dina? Thank you. Bengisukwazi ngibani ukuthi ngabe njengoba indlu enkulu isiwa withdrawing amaphepha enkantolo ningena thola inini indlu enkulu ukuthi nimbone indlu yokuqala uMadlamini nokuthi indlu enkulu imukele kanjani lokho i-Royal House imukele kanjani ukuwithdraw amaphepha enkantolo nefakwe indlu enkulu uMadlamini.
I'm not informed. I'm told that the lawyer representing the royal family has sent a thing on WhatsApp about that matter, so I would rather not comment about it.
Any further questions? I'm wondering, there's a hand there. Can you proceed? Lapho ngicela khona ukuthatha umsilo amaphoyisa aseSwaziland izawulokho ukuthi umoshe imazama okuphezele ungathanda nami ukuthola ukuphawula kwezimfundo okwesibili iganelo likashengefundulakhulu wakwaZulu linconywe kakhulu ngesikhathi sibhekene nesikhathi esinzima sobumnyama mhlawumbe singakubona ushenge eqhubeka nokubona kunamazinsiyazi ukuhamba nakuzuluka kuyisilo esisha kodwa mhlawumbe ushenge usafisa ukuqhubeka
He's saying that the organization in Eswatini, has raised concerns about the Swazi police being here, saying it's a waste of taxpayers' money of the people of Swaziland, and then asking whether he will still continue as the traditional prime minister.
Who will continue?
You and that is it.
First of all, concerning that matter, I don't think that he would, or doing what the song says, fools rushing where angels fear to tread. And I will not rush into that matter of Swaziland. But I don't know why at this time, when we are mourning the death of the king, when things are not completed, you keep on asking me about this, raising this issue with some of these gurus, you know, because it doesn't depend on me. It depends on the king and it depends. And at my age, I expect that the king will in good time appoint his own prime minister. But the late queen had already said that I was going to continue to chair the what you call the Royal Council that advises her. But I don't know why this anxiety about saying when am I going to, what do you call it? I didn't choose myself. My cousin King Cyprian KwaZulu Nyangazizwe appointed me to that position. The late king did not appoint me, but he used me in that same position, you know. And I was quite angered when one journalist, you know, Beksisa, what do you call Ngube, in the Witness, wrote an article to say that they used to have discussions with the king in the hotels where he said that he didn't appoint me. In fact, it's true, he didn't appoint me. And all the time I said to him, he must appoint his own prime minister. And he didn't do that. And I carried all the work, the duties of the prime minister on his instructions. I don't know why you should worry about it to say, when am I going to a medical? As if I appoint myself. In any case, at this stage, I'm 92 years now. I have no reason to want to continue because I've even relinquished my position as leading my party. Even in Parliament, I'm just waiting for the passing of the law on appropriation without compensation. Otherwise, I should have retired by now. And I don't know why a man of 92 years should be asked whether he wants to continue to be radical. I don't know why anyone with anything between his ears should keep on asking that.
I think on that note, we are good to go. Thank you very much for your attendance, and that is just your tours are cool for everything. We appreciate your presence. Colleagues, I think we are done. Thank you very much. Have a safe journey home and all of you for your time and
Okay, before we go to the ad break and continue with more news, just a quick apology then from our side here at SABC News for some of that foul language that you were exposed to. It is indeed a family show, so we certainly do apologize for that. We weren't expecting it, as you might imagine, otherwise we would have taken it out. We do apologize profusely for that. Let's take a short break and I'll bring you more news after this.